closing the sale is still the most important thing that we can do as salespeople. Making sure that we have a process for consistently closing sales. And that is why we must follow a process. We can't be willy-nilly and all over the place. And that's why we have put together 9 super quick and easy closing sales tips. Check it out. Number 1, focus on discovery, not closing. Now you might be saying, hey, these are closing tips. What's going on? Well, the reality is that the goal is to close the sale. But that doesn't mean that you have to focus on the close. There is way too much focus in sales on the actual close, that moment before the sale is figured out where we're closing the sale. Way too much is focused on that. By the time you're at that point, you either kind of have the sale or you don't. Instead, what we want to do is focus on the early part of the sale, the discovery, where we're really learning what's going on in their business. Focus on that part of the sale, not the close. Number 2, show some insight. We have seen in modern selling that reps are focused too much on asking questions early on in the sales process. But the reality is that you need to demonstrate value before you can start paying them with questions. Let's just imagine that you're a prospect and I'm a salesperson, and I say something like, George, would it make sense to get on the phone sometime where I can find out more about your business? What's the likelihood that you're going to say yes to that? 0. Nobody wants to get on the phone with you so that way they can learn more about your business. Instead, they want insight. That means demonstrate insight early on in the sales process. So that way the person is thinking, this person's an expert. You know what? I do want to answer their questions. I do want to get into a conversation with them. Number 3, get them talking. Once you've demonstrated some insight, now it's time to get them talking, to get them to really open up, to get them emotionally involved in the moment. This means asking questions, finding out what's going on, doing whatever you can to be focused completely on them so that way they start to reveal what is actually going on. Number 4, know your questions. You want to have a consistent cadence of questions that you're using with pretty much every prospect to take them through a process to determine whether they are truly qualified or not. This means you must know what those questions are ahead of time. Now, this doesn't mean that we're a robot and we're just hitting them with the same exact questions and we're never changing ever. Of course not. But you want to have a consistent cadence of questions that you can follow that are both demonstrating value and are getting the prospect to reveal what's actually going on. Number 5, dig, dig, dig. Now, we've just talked about knowing your questions, but in between those questions, you want to dig deeper. You want to really use a set of spontaneous questions to find out what's going on. So let's just say the prospect says, oh yeah, things have been crazy around here lately. You want to dig into that. How do you dig? You simply ask. You say, things have been crazy lately. Tell me what's going on. Get into the real deal of what's actually happening. Keep digging. Think of yourself as a doctor looking for what's really happening. Number 6, be next step obsessed. One of the traits that is consistent among top sales reps is that they are obsessed with scheduling next steps whenever they are in front of a prospect. So they never end an interaction with a prospect without ensuring that they have a clear next step scheduled. This is so key. If you're having a great conversation with a prospect and then you end it with some version of, well, why don't I check in with you sometime next week? And then you walk away from that and you pat yourself on the back thinking you did a great job, you just messed up because you did not schedule a clear next step. Be obsessed with scheduling next steps. This is the one time in sales where we actually want to be a little bit more pushy if we have to. Schedule those next steps. Be really firm about getting a next step on the calendar. Number 7, disqualify non-fits. We want to disqualify people that are not a fit. This is a pretty big shift for people who have sold pretty traditionally. which of course back in the day they used to say, oh yeah, so-and-so, such a great salesperson, they could sell ice to an Eskimo, which of course in this day and age sounds like a ridiculous thing to say, but it was what people were thinking at the time, that the idea that you could sell anything to anyone was somehow considered valiant or good. But the reality is that top performing salespeople aren't selling anything to anyone. They're selling the right thing to the right person. And anyone who is not a fit, they're moving on. Be willing to disqualify people that are not a fit. Now, this doesn't mean that if a prospect is a little cranky with you on the phone early on in a conversation, that they're suddenly not a fit. No. We want to disqualify people after we've determined that maybe they don't have the budget, or they don't have the right sets of challenges to be a real fit, or they're not the right size organization. Disqualify those people and move on. Focus your time on people that are a fit. Number 8. Only present to their challenges. Now, I find myself saying this so much lately, but it is such an important concept in terms of closing sales, because we as sales reps get really excited about our stuff. But the reality is that your prospects don't care about your offering. What they care about is the solution to their challenges. So only present to those challenges. If you are presenting all of the bells and whistles and the features and benefits of your product or service, you are shooting yourself in the foot. Only present to the challenges that they have already stated that they have. So that way, a sales process would look something like this. You find out what's really going on, what those challenges are, and then you're presenting the solution to those challenges. That's it. Nothing else. Number 9. Pause for objections. Now, objections are inevitable. No matter how strong you are in the sales process, it still is likely that you're going to get some objections. Now, if you have done a poor job in the sales process, you're going to get a lot of objections. That can be bad. But even if you've done a great job in the sales process, towards the end, you're going to get objections. Don't react. Don't go on a 5-minute monologue trying to answer every objection. Don't try to convince them or persuade them why their objection is not valid. Instead, slow it down. Pause. Take a couple of seconds and then dig into what's really going on. Be willing to pause when you hear an objection. The data shows that top performing reps are pausing for about 4 seconds when they hear an objection. So the prospect says an objection, pause. And then a top performing rep digs into what the prospect is really asking. They try to respond with a question to find out what's going on. But what they're not doing is going on a 90-second or 3-minute monologue, answering it and immediately responding. That is immediately going to turn a prospect off. So there are 9 super quick and easy closing sales tips. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have an awesome free training on the data-driven approach to help you crush your sales goals. Just click right here to get registered instantly. Seriously, just click right here. This is an in-depth training that will help you close more sales at higher prices, all while generating more meetings. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube, and be sure to subscribe to my channel by clicking my face that should be right about here to get access to a new video just like this one each week.